Today I'm going to show you guys one of the best techniques that you can do to mix music for your video content. This is a more advanced technique that's really easy to do using something called stems. Stems are the isolated groupings of like instruments or sounds that when combined make up an entire track. Stems can be manipulated separately from one another to give you the most creative control over the sound of the overall track. For example, a track that has drum sets as well as hand percussion, these might be grouped together as just percussion. A typical track might have around 4 to 5 stems that might consist of groupings like bass, drums, vocals, synth, guitar, that sort of stuff. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first things first, let's hop on over to Soundstripe and I will show you how you can download stems. Let's use this song Anti-Hero from McCall. All you're gonna do is click on the download icon right there, and then right here you can see it says stems. Click on the download wave, and that is basically gonna download a little zip folder that has all of the individual stems for that song in the folder. So now we can just hop on over to DaVinci Resolve, drag those into your timeline. So now, as you can see, if you look at the stems now that are all in your timeline, you have bass, drums, percussion, synth, vocals, and winds. If we actually expand each of these, you can see that in certain areas, there's actually not going to be any sort of waveform. That's not on accident. That's actually just because nothing's happening in the percussion or the drums at that part of the song. So the reason we did that is just so that it's super easy to line everything up. Everything's the full length of the track. That makes organization and lining everything up super, super easy. So in this first example, what we're doing is we are cutting the vocals throughout this little piece and bringing it back at the very end over the logo animation. So that just adds a cool texture to it. So let's watch that down. So all we did is we went to our vocal track, which you can see here, and we just cut it all out and brought it right back in at the very, very end here. And that's a really, really easy way to use stems. So instead of just downloading an instrumental version of the song and not having any vocals at all, you can kind of use stems to bring the vocals in and out as you please. Or downloading 2 different versions of the song, it's a big mess. This is gives you far, far more control. All right, so for this next example, let's say that you need a piece to be exactly 15 seconds. A lot of the times, promotional spots have to be exactly 60 seconds, 30, 15, 90, whatever. So downloading the stems for a song gives you far, far more control. So as you can see in this example, we have it cut down to exactly 15 seconds. And the way that we did that is we use this portion of the song. But to have it end exactly where we want, I trimmed this portion of the vocals in. So I just cut in a portion of the vocals, slid it in to fit the timing that I want, and then everything else stays just about the same. I have a little transition with the synth here, which actually we can just drag out here. Yeah, we'll just do that. So everything else stays the same except for the vocals. So that gives everything a nice end to it. We call that like a button. So you button up the end of your video with the music. There's nothing worse. We all hate this. There's nothing worse than having your video just fade out at the end. I do have a fade out at the end, but it fades out at what feels like a nice ending part of the song, not just a random part of the song. So here, take a listen. So we just sliced these 2 parts of the song together, spliced these lyrics together, and it felt seamless. So again, the rest of the track is just playing through as normal, but we spliced 2 different parts of the vocals together, made it all feel seamless, and it ended at a really nice place. Versus if it just went like this without that splice. So that's just like a random fade out, which is bleh, ugly. We hate that. So using stems gives you far more control and works really, really well for this use case. And you can obviously manipulate anything else. So whether you have a part of the drums that you just want to keep straight through the entire piece, and you have to manipulate the bass and percussion and vocals, having a piece of the music that's just unedited helps everything sound like it was unedited. Okay, so for example number 3, stems are an awesome way to actually splice multiple different songs together into one piece. So the great thing thing about Soundstripe is that you can actually do that quite easily using some of our search and filter tools. So if we jump over to Soundstripe and we look at our song Anti-Hero, that's kind of that main song that we're using. If you go over to the info, you can see the beats per minute and the key, so D flat, C sharp major. With those two parameters, we can actually head over into Soundstripe's search and filter section. You can actually filter this by key. So C sharp, D flat, major. That gives you all these different songs, and then we can kind of go to our BPM, and if you can get just a relatively close BPM, so let's just say between 130 and 190. So it gives you all these different song options here. So now all you have to do is go through and find the type of music that you want. So you can go over into genre, and it grays out everything that there is none of, but we can say we want something that's electronic. So now you have electronic in C sharp major between 130 and 190 beats per minute. So now using these parameters, you can actually build a little sound that splices multiple songs together, and it all sounds like it meshes really, really well. So what we did for this piece is we actually spliced together video of all these different artists that we've worked with throughout kind of the history of Soundstripe. Rather than just picking one song to play over a bunch of different genres of music from these different artists, I thought it would be really cool to splice in sounds from each of these different pieces to make it feel like it all blends and kind of really shows the breadth of our music. So what we have is our main track, that piece from McCall, and we spliced in instrumentation from 3 other tracks, and it worked really, really well. So here, take a listen.
Really, I'm not a zombie, a thriller. I'm moving calmly but ill. I'm not playing party Attila. I ain't been partying either, but at the Garden of Eden, just drinking water and eating. It's probably not what you're thinking, but I hardly been thinking. I feel like hard in the season. I know that's hard to believe in, and that's just part of the reason. I'm catching up to you because you wait and you sleeping. I feel like hard in the season. I feel like hard in the season. Yeah, too many nights, yeah. Not feeling right, yeah.
So that's how it all spliced together. Now, there's even more that you can do to actually make this stuff blend together well. I'll show you one quick little trick. You can actually go into the vocals, so that's audio channel 5, and go to your EQ, and let's just sweep and try to find like where the audio is, where his vocals are most strong. And basically what you're gonna do is boost just his vocals in the vocal track a little bit, and that'll just help the vocal track stand out among all the musical instrumentation that's going on throughout this piece. So kind of sweeping through, between this 500 and 1000 hertz range is where his vocals are really kind of standing out. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna boost it just a little bit so that as the piece plays, we don't lose that through line of his vocals throughout the rest of the piece. This just helps his vocals stand out just a little bit more amongst the noise of the rest of the songs. So again, that's the power of stem. So that's it.
Don't forget to subscribe.